Look, insurance sucks. I'll just make it suck less.
All right, guys, and we are back. We're going to go through some more practical stuff here. So first thing, obviously, is the short-term medical plan. So a lot of people, especially new agents, will see all these plans and be a little overwhelmed, and I can certainly understand that. Even if you're an existing agent, you've been doing this a long time, and maybe you write more Medicare than you do health, and you're seeing all this, you're like, what the heck is the difference? What is all this stuff? And blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, it's very likely or very easy to rule out a lot of these plans, either A, based on cost, or B, based on coverage, right? So right away, I mean, we don't generally sell a whole lot of the 2,500, 50/50, right? I'll get into some of the stuff that this plans cover, don't cover, and things like that. I just want to kind of give you a high level overview of the plans we do use and the plans we don't use, right? And I can tell you, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've sold the 2,500 50/50 plan. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't know there's much need for it, right? It's 50/50 coinsurance. It's, you've got your $2,500 deductible, then $5,000 out of pocket after that. So that makes the total max out of pocket 2,500 plus 5,000 makes the total 7,500. Well, for less money, okay, I can have a plan with a lower out of pocket, this 5,000 100% plan. Okay, that's why in the last video I talked about the 5,000 100% plan being one of the most common plans we sell. It's 5,000 100%, 609 versus the 2,500 50/50 plan at 684. So we don't sell a whole lot of that, and you won't see it. Even similar circumstance with the 80/20 plan. I mean, it's literally $100 more than the 50/50 plan, all for the same out of pocket max. Okay, all for the same situation. If I've got $100,000 in medical bills and I'm on this 80/20 plan, basically I'm still paying $7,500. Okay. Same thing with this plan. But if I'm on this cheaper $5,000 deductible plan, I have $100,000 in medical bills, I'm paying $5,000 versus $7,500. So it's just common sense. And I'll describe that to the client. Like if they want the lower deductible plan, I'm not going to, take it away from them. But I'm probably going to quote the 2,500 100% because that's giving you a true lower out of pocket versus, these plans which kind of don't make sense. So the 100% plans we like to sell, 2,500, 100%. Okay. 5,000, 100%, 10,000, 100%. Okay. Those are the plans we sell the most of. It's a lot easier to explain to your client when it's 100% coinsurance. Now I'm going to go through real quick and I'll show you the plans we do not sell virtually at all. Okay. These essentials plans, we don't do a whole lot with. Okay. They're more limited in coverage, right? So it's a 5,000 plus 7,500. You're looking at $12,500 out of pocket. And I'll pull up the brochure too, so we can look at it from this perspective. But 5,000, right? Plus 7,500, 12,500, and it only covers up to $250,000. Okay. It is outside of open enrollment at the time of recording this. One of the main reasons we would see this being used is because somebody's needing it for a very short amount of time and they're stuck with no other options. Okay. So we don't sell a whole lot of the essentials plans, and we definitely don't sell a whole lot of the guaranteed issue plans. Okay. Guaranteed issue, $100,000 coverage period maximum, high out of pockets, and they still don't cover pre-existing conditions. Should say down here, short-term medical plans do not cover costs associated with guaranteed issue or with pre-existing, even on the guaranteed issue. So not really a great option. 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, they're better off with something else. And the only exception to that is obviously if you have no coverage and it's kind of your only option as a last ditch effort. So let's focus our efforts on the enhanced and even the copay enhanced PPOs. I like the copay enhanced more for the $5 million coverage period max than or more for the $5 million maximum than the copays. But the copays are nice to have, right? They're not a need to have. They're a nice to have. Copay of $40 for primary care. And $60 for a specialist. Why I say it's nice to have and not a need to have is a lot of times we would rather pair. And if you're not familiar with this, this is one of the reasons why you want to work with somebody who, focuses on this vertical. It's a nice to have, not a need to have, because I could always sell the 5K 100%, still get taken advantage of hopefully not get taken advantage of. I can still take advantage of the network discounts, as well as if copays were that big of a deal and they wanted something with robust day-to-day benefits. Okay. If anybody's ever heard my presentation, I like to talk about day-to-day, accident, and major medical. On that day-to-day side, if they're looking for more robust benefits, we can always sell a mech plan. Okay. We use some carriers with we use some products with some very, very robust wellness and even specialist copays, x-ray copays, imaging copays, lab copays, urgent care copays, you name it. So there's some mech plans that are very comprehensive. They're not exactly cheap, but we can pair that with the enhanced PPO, because a lot of times, as I switch over this, the 5,100%, okay, let's look at it, $609 a month versus the copay enhanced $799. So we're really talking about a $200 difference, okay, between this plan and the copay plan. For that additional $200, I can always sell a mech plan alongside of that 5K 100%, or I could sell the savings. Okay, it's gonna make your commissions a little smaller, but it may save you some headaches down the road. Because what I would love to see you avoid, and I try to avoid at all costs, is setting the wrong expectation. And when you tell somebody that, hey, you've got a $40 copay for primary care, $60 copay for specialists, a lot of times that's the only, and even if you do a good job of kind of explaining this, a lot of times that's the only thing to remember. And then they get hit with a bill because the copay generally just covers the office visit, right? It doesn't cover services done in the outpatient facility or the doctor's office. Okay. So again, we don't sell a whole lot of the essentials plans. We don't sell a whole lot of the guaranteed issue. We do sell a whole lot of the enhanced, and we sell a little bit of the copay enhanced. I like to focus again on these two plans. Okay. 5K 100%, 5K 80/20. There's nothing really wrong with the 5K 50/50, but for that same similar out of pocket, the 10K 100% plan works as well, and it's easier to explain. We don't sell a whole lot of this because that's a very high out of pocket, but it works if you needed to. And I will say I sold a 25K deductible a handful of times. Every single time I sold that, I didn't really sell it. They bought it, and I sent them my link to enroll themselves, because I just, I can't bring myself to sell a $25,000 deductible, but there are some circumstances where it makes sense. And the 10K 100%, it's happening more and more often where I talk to somebody who is looking for a high deductible. That's a great option for that high deductible health plan. Okay. So those are the short-term medical plans. We can get into let's get into some of the coverage real quick, and then we'll move on to some of my favorite supplemental coverages. Right now we're talking National General, but we're going to go through a couple of the other carriers as well. So short-term medical with National General comes with a life association in most states, right? It's not every state, but in most states, you will get a life association, and that life association gives you some great benefits, right? It gives you a couple great benefits. It gives you access to a ton of different discounts and things like that, with identity theft protection, yada, yada, yada. But as far as like the medical benefits, it can give you access to telemedicine. Okay. Telemedicine, 24/7 access to a licensed doctor, something great to highlight, as well as there's a prescription discount card given through the Life Association. I even know some agents that have had this plan themselves and used roadside assistance or travel or, some of these services, and had good things to say about it, but it's not something we really talk about when presenting to a client. Some of the highlights of the plan, obviously, doctor's visits. Okay. Every one of the plans, whether you have a copay or not, does come with a strong network, either Aetna or Cigna, which gives you access to those pre-negotiated discounted rates in network facilities and doctor's offices, and obviously gives you that nationwide coverage. So, definitely something to highlight. Okay. You can get next day effective dates, unlimited urgent care copays, right? So you've got a $50 copay for urgent care. You've also got, 30-day coverage all the way up to 3 years worth of coverage. So just some of the higher level highlights. As far as the copay plan, like I mentioned, you got your $40 copay for primary care, $60 for specialist. But in addition to that, you do get some drug coverage, right? Generic drugs are going to give you a $10 copay with a maximum benefit of $3,000. So not a ton, but it's good for those little smaller drugs and things like that. I still usually will prefer that enhanced PPO over the copay enhanced, like I mentioned. I'd rather sell an additional product alongside of a lower premium enhanced PPO than I would the copay enhanced a lot of times. So another thing to highlight, okay? Vaccinations, immunizations for children under the age of 18 covered 100% from day one. You'll also get some wellness benefits depending on the states for children under the age of 18. As well as some state mandated benefits. It does vary state by state. And then you've got, that's the gist of the higher level overview. Of course, always read the exclusions, understand that it's not great for pre-existing conditions. There are a lot of things that can be excluded. I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a handful of exclusions that could be something you really want to point out. Pre-existing condition is going to be a major one, right? We're not putting people on this plan who have a ton of pre-existing conditions or, major health concerns, things like that. That said, if you haven't heard my story, not my story personally, but one of my clients, we've had, close to $1 million worth of medical bills covered only 30 days after she got on the plan. It was one of the craziest stories I've gotten the chance to, have a role in. So I do have a strong belief in National General and what they're doing. It is great for those individuals that are healthy and wealthy, and, not even wealthy, but healthy and not qualifying for a major tax credit. So make sure you give National General a try. If you don't have a National General contract, or if you have other questions, feel free to reach out, throw a comment below. This is, again, one of the carriers we really like to specialize in. So hope that helps.
I'm a health insurance hustler. Bradley Hannon's the name. I'm here to teach these agents how to play the game. I'm a health insurance